Hey guys, Master Xeon here, recording another tutorial. I know it's been a while, but I'm back, so let's go ahead and jump in and begin. Now, as you see, I have my um, base mesh male here. Um, Basically, we're going to be using him as a test subject. Now, I've been working on making different characters for different purposes in doing these tutorials. However, in this one, I think it's most appropriate to just use this guy. Now, I don't think key screencast is on, so let's go ahead and jump into our preferences. And the first thing we'll go over is, while we're in here, is the add-on Inset polygon. Now, Inset polygon, or Inset extrude, my mistake, was an older add-on that was put on a while back that I found to be pretty good. Now, if you don't have this add-on, all you have to do is just just search for Blender. Let's see, what is it? Blender Inset extrude, and if you search for that, you'll come up with this page here that pretty much will link you to the script. That all you have to do is just put it in your Blender add-ons directory. If you don't know how to do that, there's an explanation right here on how to do that. Now, this doesn't actually have anything to do with the subject at hand, but just to demonstrate it, if you were to try and take these faces and extrude them in and scale it, then you would find yourself having to go through and move these faces like so, and that can be a little bit of a pain. So this add-on actually makes it a lot easier to deal with such things. Here we go, and alright, so as you see, this was made for me just extruding, scaling it down onto Z, and then now I can, begin to put this in. Or with the Inset extrude, I could just press I, and it will actually allow me to choose when to scale this in. Now, this is very useful when it comes to some hard surface detailing. Personally, I just found it to be an invaluable tool. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it here. And as you can see, I'm just using it to sharpen up certain details, and it'll come in handy later on. But let's go ahead and get rid of that and get back to the topic at hand. Now, this is my guy. If we go in textured mode, doesn't show anything, and that's because over here I don't have him on maximum draw type textured, but that looks hideous. So let's drag out a UV image editor, and let's see, we'll save as, I'm just going to jump into my reference images and choose this, and I'll save them here. And we're going to convert this to a UV image editor. Now, I've spent a lot of time recently messing with texturing and whatnot. And I'm just pressing Control A, Control P, make everything fit. However, let's see. Maybe I can get a better unwrap than that, but this actually looks like it's pretty good. Now, in the new version of Blender, they've also added UV Sculpt, which basically will allow you to sculpt your UVs and smooth them out. Like, I'm just holding Shift and clicking over them, and it actually releases some of the slack that may cause some distortion whenever I texture it. So this is definitely useful. As you can see, I'm just getting the averaged out result. And also, under UV Sculpt, there's an option, let's see, under the End panel, this is lock borders, and what that means is basically I can't go and move the borders. So that's good to have as well, especially at this stage. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to go over UV unwrapping because then it would be a UV unwrapping tutorial. But I'm just going to press P, pen nose, choose new, and we're just going to give it a base texture, color, 1024, UV test grid, and there we go. So I'm going to press F3. First thing is save this. So I'm going to save this in my directory where I'm saving my blend file. And now we have him unwrapped. Now, like I said, this isn't about unwrapping. That's why we'll just live with the texture looking messed up. Now, texture painting is one of those things that I was always like, yeah, I'll just get back to that once I'm a master of modeling, but I've become pretty enlightened lately as far as how important texturing is to the whole production process. So right here under image editor, I'm actually linking to Gimp, which I was able to get off of Graphical. And over here I was able to find a portable version of Gimp, which is good because it's kind of like Blender. You can just install it, run it from a directory, and not have to deal with it. So this is the version I'm using. I have it installed, and I have Blender pointing to it. Now, unfortunately, I have to open Gimp first and have it up on the screen in order for this to work correctly. Otherwise, in Windows 7, for some reason, it'll give me a permissions error. So we'll give that a moment to load up. And Gimp is one of those programs that most people don't want to mess with because they're so adept at Photoshop or whatnot. But once you set up Windows and put single window mode, it actually isn't so bad, in my opinion at least. So this is a little bit about Gimp. And the reason I'm using Gimp is because basically it's free. It doesn't require me to do a whole lot of work to get using it. And that's pretty much also why I use Blender, is because I just come in, install it, don't have to crack it or buy software or whatever you do. I can just use it and that's it. You know, if I'm not making money doing 3D, then, you know, let's see, play some music. But whatever, that's beyond the point. Now, as you know, we can just start painting and it'll just, you know, start painting it. But let's see, we're going to take them in textured view and get them on screen just like that. Now, over here, there's these options for quick edit and apply. Now, this is what we're going to be focusing on today. We're going to hit quick edit. It's going to take us out to Gimp, and lo and behold, on the screen is the object. Now, since this is a mirrored object, first things first is click, hold shift, and you can actually just draw a straight line. If you hold control, it's a perfectly straight line. This is the line we really can't cross because, well, it just will mess it up because it's a mirrored object. So we're going to go online and just give them a chest. So I'm in Google. I'm just going to search for Mel chest. Now, some of the things now this is the image I'm using. So let me bring up my directory and we'll just I actually have this image saved already, but basically we're just saving the image, and over here I'm just going to drag it and drop it onto Gimp. It didn't work. I'm just going to click it, drag it, and drop it as a layer, and voila, now we have it. But this image is humongous. Image, scale image. Let's see. Alright, so it removed it because I undid it. So we'll put it back again, and we're just going to use our scale tool, and we're just going to scale them down. Now I'm holding control so it's a smooth scale and not, making it too large or anything like that. I mean, so it doesn't mess up the the scale. And so we're just going to continue to scale it down until we have an acceptable image. And I'm just going to keep moving it back. And I'm just going to, let's see, forgot to hold control. Alright, and we're just going to keep scaling it. Now, this is one of the only things I don't like about Gimp is that it doesn't have, basically, it doesn't let me see through it when I'm scaling it, but it is besides the point. Now, for this, I'm just going to, damn you opacity, just go up. Alright, just try to line it all up, and that's actually a pretty good fit, if I say so myself. I may want to nudge some things, but it's whatever. So the first thing when you're importing images back is you want to just raise it up. The next thing is, since it, like I said, since it was mirrored, probably just going to delete half of this, and voila. So under Gimp, you can save it as, and it'll annoy you, or you can just choose overwrite, and it'll just overwrite the image that you brought in. Now if I choose apply, voila, now he has a chest. And then, this is not perfect by any means, but it's certainly a start. So we can take our clone brush and just basically just kind of paint in more of the texture. So, it's really an art more than it is a science. You just really just put on some music and zone out for a while. And so the seams are something that you can do once you're done altogether. And now, if we look at it in object mode, not too bad for just some projection painting. And you could take this as far as you want. Now, doing it like that would actually take a while. So we're going to save this file. We're going to go over here in the UV image editor where it's showing our UVs painted. We're going to press F3, and we're going to, I don't know why it's called Cube V. I'm going to copy the label, press F3, and save this image as what it's supposed to be called, paste texture color. And in case you're wondering, or I didn't say already, I'm using the new Blender 2.62, which still does not have B-Mesh, unfortunately. So I wanted to do a couple of redos of my old tutorials covering how to use B-Mesh to do it, but I'd rather not deal with it right now. Alright, so we have this here, and basically what we can do is we're just going to give it a base coat. Now we can go in Gimp and do this and just choose image, edit externally, and it'll import this whole map into Gimp where we can edit it. But instead we're just going to use Blender for now and then go into Gimp maybe for tuning. So the first thing is image painting. Now, one of the things that's always kind of irritated me about Blender a little bit is that it just gets so slow whenever the brush is big and you're painting the object as a whole. I guess it's having to adjust the texture for all those different angles or something. Alright, so we're just going to sample a color like this, a good base skin, and we're just going to paint. And don't worry about the colors, we'll be able to get back on that. Let me grab my tablet, it's actually sitting here next to me. And And if we go back out of here, look at our guy, and here we go. So this will be like our starting coat here. And now for texture painting, you're not really projecting the photo as much as you are just kind of observing and absorbing some of the color information and variances that you see in the image. So like right here, that didn't work out well. And you want to just lower the strength. And after a while, it'll all start to kind of just blend together. So you would just basically paint your way to success. Now, your knowledge of 2D image editing is what is used as far as making the texture fit right and look seamless. You know, we could take this guy as far as we want to go. But the focus of this isn't to texture paint him as much as it is to just learn the techniques that are useful for it that Blender offers. Because the whole time I've used this program, I've been like, you know, go into a 2D image editor. No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to use Blender for everything. And that's just, you can do it. Prepare to be annoyed. Alright, and you just want to keep grabbing different colors, and you never want to paint with full intensity. You only want to paint with a noticeable intensity. But as you can see, it gets better and better. Now if I sculpted it, I could multiply it against this normal map and all of that, but let's go back into object mode and take a look at what we got here. So yeah, it looks like a start, right? Save our image, save it all the time. And let's see, we'll go into texture paint, and we're just going to zoom in on the head. Now this part is definitely we'll go ahead and put a face on them just for tutorial purposes. So we'll bring this back up, go back to Google, and we'll search for I don't know, Ryan Seacrest. I just picked one with a lot of images. This image looks like it's small enough, so I'll bring my folder back up. Ugh, Windows 7, why are you giving me a hard time? Alright, just drag that, drop it, and now we just go through making the necessary adjustments of making this fit. First thing I'm going to do is just, you know, remove everything that's not his face. And select invert, delete. Alright, so it's just his head. And hold on, we still need the opacity low. Select none, and we'll definitely have to do a little bit of adjustments to get them to fit, but the first thing we'll do is rotate it. Next thing we'll do is scale it. Now in this case, since my head is a little unusually shaped. I'm not so worried about certain things, and we'll turn on opacity, and looks like we need to move it. Looks like we need to rotate it some more. Now, I'm by no means a texture painting pro, but practice makes perfect for this. And just spend a little bit of time, but a little bit can go a long ways. And we'll just start his nose up here. And we'll turn on opacity. Alright, not that one. We want to use this one. And put it right in the middle. Delete. Select. None. Now, if you leave this layer open, you are going to end up going back into it and pasting this stuff over it again. So it'll have the wireframe and all that in it, and you just don't want that. And right here, I'm just using the magic wand, and that's pretty much it. So select, none, turn off this layer, leave only this layer, and we're just going to export, go back into Blender, hit apply, and now we have a face on our guy. Not good looking though, so now we need to do even more editing. So we'll hit quick edit, we'll go back over, and now we can start getting intensive with it. So the basics of 2D editing is actually got to turn off the wireframe view so I can see it better, or not see the wire. There we go. Now quick edit. Now because there's no lights in the scene, the color is showing up completely flat, which is what you want. If it shows the shading, then that can be a problem. So we're just going to hit the texture and press bracket to make it a little bigger. And we're just going to start the process of filling in the face. Holding control lets you sample a color. We'll just erase the hair. That opacity needs to be adjusted. And this is all just your knowledge of the face and how it's colored being put to work. Now when it comes to making like the diffuse maps and all of that, you are going to want to just get in there a little bit more seriously, one-on-one with the map. This is just to put the quick and dirty map together that you'll want to use just as your basis. And we can get into this as far as we want, but just remember this is a 512 image, so if you want to get more detail out of it, you are going to want to up that. And this is just rough, real rough, tutorial rough, so you must forgive me. He looks like he's got some problems in this. Alright, and so we'll go ahead and we'll just delete. Here we go. We'll delete that. We'll come down here, delete that. Control Shift A selects none in Gimp. We'll just use our eraser tool and just kind of fade it out a little bit. Like I was saying, this is not the complete way of how I texture paint, but sometimes I start off with a projection and then I just use the color information and differences like the purplish red under the eyes and the light peach that's on the corners and all that. Like that's the stuff that of course makes your maps realistic. So we'll overwrite and we'll choose apply, and now we have our guys starting to come together, but you know, it looks pretty bad. Looks very bad. No worries, we can come in and lower our strength significantly and work on blending it all together. Now because it's mirrored, you don't want that, and of course anytime that you're making a human you probably want a symmetry anyways to try to help sell the image. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Quick texturing using just Gimp and Blender. So we'll just stop this here. And the next thing is, you know, our map is over here. This is what you really want. You want your map to have your projection and whatnot. Now let's go to desktop, I guess blends, and alright, so I'm working on redoing my directory structure, but I just want to show you a couple of maps that I've done. Now I was modeling this woman in Blender. As you can see, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. However, for the initial texture painting I started off with photos that I then sampled to make the maps. And if we take a look at the maps, you see that, where are they? Alright, so you know, it starts off, I start off with a front project, then from there painted the initial mirror, repainted the mirror onto the real one, and this is just the process I went through in making it. Now in the end, this was the map I came up with, where basically the real details you want to keep are in the areas that you see here that show variances. Of course you want this part to of course show the differences that you show in skin, but the reason that this image looks, you know, even somewhat remotely realistic is simply because of the variances that you see in the eyes and the normal mapping and just all of that. But I use this method to put this whole thing together. Now we'll go ahead and just save Super Strong Ryan Seacrest and start with a new file. How long have we been in this? 29 minutes. Alright, we're going to pause this one, then I'm going to start part 2, which is a little more interested in that, but I wanted y'all to get the basic idea so I can just jump into the next one. So, see you in a moment.